Humans have progressed from hunter-gatherer tribes into modern-day civilizations. But could one accurately describe that as progress? Is the abandonment of the hunter-gathering life progress? Sure, humans living in civilizations enjoy better healthcare and sometimes a longer lifespan, but we don't have a better social life from our support systems as tribal people do. And are we actually happier? The domestication of animals is one of the most important steps in advancement of the human race, and it gave Western civilizations a leg up on the hunter-gatherer tribes. We no longer had to hunt for food because we rear our food. Modern-day humans regularly consume a negligible amount of game meats, whereas hunter-gatherer tribes typically only consume game. Domesticating animals allowed us to transform the land by using their dung as fertilizer. We still do this today. This means we don't have to forage for fruits and veg. We can grow our own on our land that was previously unsuitable for food production. The domestication of large animals is the reason why human civilizations could grow and develop. Donkeys and horses were the only means of transporting heavy goods before the domestication of animals. Man would have to carry said goods on his back. Fun fact about horses. Did you know horses are the top animal depicted in the Stone Age Western European cave art? So guys, hit the like button if you've learnt something already. What are we, 2 minutes in and we've already taught you something? Surely that deserves a like.
I deserve a like.
Pause this video. Go and read Guns, Germs and Steel by
Jared Diamond. And when you've read it, you can join us for the discussion.
Or you can join us anyway, because we're going to tell you all about it. My name's Elijah.
I'm Joseph, and welcome to the Aisha Library.
So, do you think us progressing from a hunter-gatherer tribe is progress? I mean, it has to be, doesn't it?
Oh, well, I definitely, if you gave me a choice, I'm not picking hunter-gatherer, let's be honest.
Why, though? Because when you look at them, right?
Yeah.
They're happy for one, if that's important to you. They got their families. They're healthy. You know, they're not plagued by the diseases that we're plagued with. So, could one actually say it's progress? It's almost like I would argue that it's going in a different direction. I don't think we could
Lateral? Lateral progression?
If instead of going if progress is that, I think it's that. What we've done is like that. It's better in some ways, but it's worse in other ways.
Do you think it's better in more ways than it's worse?
I don't know, because I think there's a lot of people unhappy. I think could I put a percentage on how many people are unhappy?
Could we even conceptualize society being unhappy as hunter-gatherer people? And if we could, maybe we would have a different perspective.
Well, the hunter-gatherer lifestyle doesn't seem all roses and whatnot. But they definitely seem to be.
Well, like good. 6 man got a team up, take down one zebra.
They seem good.
When the lions pull up, though.
Well, they just take the meat from the lions, remember? The
oh, yeah, literally.
So, you know.
Yeah, no, literally.
But yeah, the book. We should talk about the book. I think it was a good read, but I think it was complicated. I think there was some parts of it, and I was just trying to get to it. Like, they were talking about germs and stuff. And as I said, it was complicated.
It's a book by scientists for scientists.
Same
and if
thing.
you really don't know, you're not going to know. And a lot of what these scientists do is they spend so many years of their life looking shit up. They think we all know. I
think they're just trying to Sherlock Holmes us.
Yeah, maybe.
He doesn't even care if we understand. He just wants to feel superior.
100%. He's reaching his word count, and that's all that matters.
But it was good. It was worth reading.
I understood, I did enjoy. If enjoy is the right word.
Do you know what? What I will say, I won't say I enjoyed it. I'd say that I learned, but I didn't find it easy. It wasn't an easy read, and it wasn't easy to get into. I feel like I really had to get
felt
through
like a university lecture.
Yeah,
where you understand some stuff and not really understand some other stuff. And I was trying to explain. Here's actually a funny story. I was trying to explain to somebody at work what I was reading because when I start work in the morning, I have my headphones on before the customers come in, and I'll be setting up the bar or whatnot, and I'll be listening to the book. And somebody asked me, like, what are you listening to? They thought I was listening to music, and I was like, audiobook. I showed them. And then they thought it was a strange thing else, and they was asking me what it's about, and I was explaining what it is actually about. And then I went off, like, script a little bit, like, in my own interpretations of what it was. And I was thinking, is this actually like a corruption of what the book is actually talking about? Do I even understand enough to explain?
I had the same situation, but with the other book we read, because someone asked me what I was reading, and I couldn't really explain what it was.
That one was way harder to explain.
Exactly. But let's get into the spoilers, and I think we've got a question of the day as well. We can do that in a bit. But yeah, do you want to go first then?
Sure, I'll go first. This guy is trying so hard not to be racist. So the premise of this book is exploring the possible reasons why Western Eurasian countries, so for example France, Italy, Belgium, Germany, and North African countries, Morocco, receive a bigger piece of the spotlight in regards to world history. Most books about world history touch only very briefly on sub-Saharan African countries, countries in the Americas, etc. And most of what is documented about them is very recent after they were colonized by European countries. Basically, I often ask the question, why do white countries prosper and black countries suffer? And tries to avoid the conclusion, because there are black people there. That's the first thing he ruled out immediately. The first thing he ruled out immediately is, he was like, in case you thought you were going to read something like racist, it's not. Like, we're not saying this because there's black people there. Which I thought was like, as much as I appreciate that, being a black person, at the same time, I was like, is that at all scientifically disingenuous? Because it might be. For all you know,
but he did actually explore, and he said that black people, on average, from those regions are smarter than
right,
us,
he did say that, and he went into that a little bit later.
And all of that
he went into
stuff.
that a little bit later, but as I was reading it, because I read this as I was reading it, I was thinking, is dismissing that off a rip, is that not scientifically disingenuous? Because for all we know, you could be. But what I also have to remember about scientists is, often science is about testing something and drawing a conclusion based upon what you tested, but just as often it's about deciding something and trying to find something to prove what you think. So cooking results, basically.
So do you think that's what it was?
Oh yeah, so
really? Because one of the biggest reasons,
I think regardless, like a point of this book was like he didn't want to be seen as like I'm making a dog whistles to anybody racist. Like it's very sensitive.
Part of what he did say was that in a lot of Africa we've got a lot of animals that you can sustain. You can follow these animals and you can make a life from following the herds of animals and hunting, which is what lions do anyway. Whereas in some of the European countries, we don't have these big big animals or a lot of animals. So we had to domesticate animals, and we had to settle and grow our own food. So that's part of why civilization kind of progressed.
Farming means economy, means money, means
so you have to do that. Whereas in Africa, you just got to chase the buffalo. That sounds a bit.
Do you see what I'm saying? He was like, I need to be very, very careful in how I say these things. Just them
throw spears.
You just chuck some spears at him. Do you know what I mean? I feel like he was being very careful. Maybe because he's a very intelligent man, so he didn't have to be careful.
Yeah, fair
he's
enough.
Not a fool. Because in this day and age, it don't take much,
I said we are not fools.
I was watching that the other day, but in this day and age, it don't take much. Is he white? His name is Jared Diamond. That doesn't sound very black.
Yeah.
So boy, it doesn't take much in this day and age. It takes one tweet from 20 years ago.
For the rest of your life,
come back up.
In World War One, Britain used 1 million horses. It was only after World War One did we stop as a civilization using horses. So that's only 100 years ago compared to the last 5,000 years that we've needed them. By the end of World War One, horse cavalry was phased out for tank warfare. Think about it. We were hunter-gatherers. Then we figured out how to properly domesticate animals, so we no longer needed to hunt, so we can stay home. And while we stay home, we look around and think, we should probably improve this dump. So we improve home. This includes structures and tools. And then the population increases because there's a surplus of food. And also people aren't dying or getting injured due to hunting, or they're not starving. At a certain point, the chief is going to realise that there are too many mouths to feed. So you know what would be a good idea? If we get 200 men, train them to be competent so they can go and take some shit from somebody else. And that's the basis of humanity. And, it's the same thing that we said, when in Western countries, after you domesticate animals and whatnot, you just then progress from there. You either figure out if you need more food, or you're running out of food or whatnot, and armies, and that's how it went. Whereas in Africa, a lot of the hunter-gatherer tribes, there's a plethora of animals, to eat. You just follow them.
Can't run out.
There's no need for you to farm. There's no need.
That's a good point. We have only been able to write for 0.1% of human history, which at first when I heard that, I found that hard to believe. But then I was thinking,
it's got to be less than that, surely.
And
when you say human history, are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're talking about Homo sapiens 160,000 years ago.
Exactly, because that's crazy.
Start again.
So historians think we have only been able to write for 0.1% of human history. So historians think that the earliest record of actual human writing systems were Sumerian cuneiforms and Egyptian hieroglyphs, the oldest of which date back to 3000 BC. The 5,000 years since then account for less than 1% of the human species' 5 million year history. Just goes to show what we think is ancient is not really ancient. We say ancient Egypt when we talk about the pyramids. Pyramids are like 5,000 years old. There's human tools that they found from 3 million years ago. And obviously it would be very primitive tools. We're not talking about power drills, but we're talking about
dildos.
Tools for...
Don't know why I went there. I don't know why.
Yeah, no. We're talking about tools for administering blunt force to things, so hammers basically. But even that shows that things were being built in some way, shape or form 3 million years ago or more. So ancient really isn't ancient in the way that we say it.
Yeah. Or you just think it is.
Or we just think it is. More indoctrination, right?
Was that indoctrination? I think everything's relative. So I would argue that might not be indoctrination, because what is ancient is there is no, 3,000 years is a long time.
3 million years is a long time, but then like there's, was it prehistoric things like that? 16 million
and then
years
the planet's 4.5 billion years.
Yeah,
so
what's ancient?
What's ancient?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In Egypt, food production began in the 6th millennium BC with the arrival of South Asian crops. Egyptians then domesticated the sycamore fig and a local vegetable called tufa. So apparently hunter-gatherers in West Asia harvested wild wheats for thousands of years before they were domesticated, and perhaps as early as 21,000 BC. So these early humans were domesticating plants and vegetables and whatnot and fruits for thousands and thousands of years ago. And it made me think, how did these early humans figure out how to domesticate what do you call them, fruit and veg and stuff like that? Because I never, until I read this book, now I understand it, which is quite amazing, but you wouldn't think that they were doing that type of stuff. 21,000 BC.
Yeah, it's from BC as well.
It's not 21,000 years ago, it's 21,000 BC. So that's
you
about
can add on
23,000 years
I was about to say you can add on a couple thousand. Just round it up to like the near 25,000 maybe, because 3,000 BC is 5,000 years ago.
And he,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and did he say how we know that they were doing this 21,000?
I prefer to stay away from them type of questions, because when you hear about, like, what did he say? There's more atoms in, I forgot what we said.
There's more atoms in the Chinese game Go than there are...
There's more possible moves.
So let me not butcher it. There's more possible moves in the Chinese game Go than there are in the entire universe.
Atoms in the entire universe. So I thought that is crazy, and I want to hold on to that, just be bewildered by it and not think, how do they possibly know that? Because that's when the walls start coming down and you start thinking, they couldn't know that, could they? But
there's definitely there was a reason how he knows that, but I can't remember.
We must hope. I can't
remember.
He did just make that shit up.
I can't remember why it is, but it's what it is.
Nobody
I think they
can
just
remember.
That's what it doesn't know.
Right, so in chapter 2 was called A Natural Experiment of History. On the Chatham Islands, 500 miles east of New Zealand, centuries of independence came to a brutal end for the Moriori people in December 1835. In November of that year, a ship carrying 500 Maori armed with guns, clubs and axes followed on December 5th by a shipload of 400 more Maori. So in New Zealand, basically, in different hemispheres of New Zealand, there was two different tribes. One was called the Maori, one was called the Moriori. And they were both descended a millennium ago from essentially what is the same lineage, the same Polynesian people that separated onto different hemispheres of New Zealand and evolved in completely different directions based on the climate, essentially. So the Moriori, they had no experience of war, no weapons. They were just a peaceful people, never done a thing to anyone. The Maori, they basically, because they developed farming, with farming comes economy, with economy comes stealing, with stealing comes basically violence and warfare. So they had weapons and they had war, and they was outnumbered 2-1, and they wiped out the Moriori anyway. And they came up to them, they sailed to the island where the Moriori were, and they said, a Moriori survivor recalled, "The Maori commenced to kill us like sheep. We were terrified, fled to the bush, concealed ourselves in holes underground, and in any place to escape our enemies. It was of no avail. We were discovered and killed, men, women, and children indiscriminately." A Maori conqueror explained, "We took possession in accordance with our customs, and we caught all the people. Not one escaped. Some ran away from us, these we killed, and others we killed. But what of it? It was in accordance with our custom. So it's very crazy how genuinely different way they see the world in different ways, only 1,000 years apart, when they both came from the exact same people. They both had the exact same like customs and ideals or whatever when they separated.
And it's, you know what it is? It kind of just highlights the book that we read about Christianity, because this is how humans were. You know,
yeah,
take someone's shit, you slaughter them,
all of them, men, women, and children. And he said, "What of it?"
Yeah, it's just like,
no remorse, you know.
Yeah.
What of it? He said, "This is normal."
Yeah, so you know, we have been domesticated by Christianity.
We've been domesticated by Christianity.
So when or why would a caveman think of domesticating a crop? And what does domesticating a crop even mean? A domestication of a crop is to change it genetically, unconsciously or consciously, from its wild state to make it more useful to human consumers. So notably, peas and olives were domesticated thousands of years ago. So peas were domesticated around 8,000 BC, olives 4,000 BC, strawberries not until the Middle Ages, and pecans not until 1846. So this is something that is still happening. Things are getting domesticated.
Yeah.
I mean, 1846 isn't yesterday. But, you know,
I mean, in the grand scheme of things,
in the grand scheme of things, there
be.
is. So there's certain things that we have that are not as domesticated. So it's like acorns. We don't eat acorns, do we?
Nah.
Well, yeah, we don't eat acorns. So there's certain things that we are still unable to domesticate because, you know, we just can't for whatever reason.
It's crazy. Like, this is real science, you know, domesticated vegetables.
Yeah,
domesticated seeds and nuts and fruits and stuff like that. But it's farming, agriculture is the basis of all of this. 2 centuries ago, people in New Guinea were still living in the Stone Age, using tools similar to ones that had been superseded by metal tools in Europe thousands of years ago. So 200 years ago, people in New Guinea were using tools that we in Europe basically phased out thousands of years ago. So they're only just now catching up. It's not even really catching up. They're only now getting to where we were thousands of years ago. White Europeans were able to colonize and bring medicine, material, clothes, introduce things like centralized government, which the Guineans had none of. Even when European colonists established the first permanent North American settlement in Jamestown, Virginia, they had muskets and flintlocks. The Native Americans were using clubs and sticks to hit people with. So Native America might actually be the best example because it's so big, North America. Not only can't you farm that with like 4 guys, but there's so much buffalo and there's so much antelope and there's so much of whatever animals was running around there, farming was just not necessary around there. So when the European settlers pulled up in Jamestown, they had their gun. I loves my gun. However, the Native Americans really did stand a chance. At the end of the last ice age, 11,000 years ago, all people on all continents were hunter-gatherers. By AD 1500, some nations had steel weapons and were able to conquer those with only stone and wood. So if everybody started the same, how did we get to be so far ahead of everybody else? Or rather, how did some people get to be so far ahead and other people get stuck? Like, even they said, the guy in the book even said, some countries, when they've shaken off European colonialism for like hundreds of years, they still haven't, like, they're still, because they still got all the animals. Do you know what I mean? So it's interesting. But it's not about race, though, guys.
Yeah, it's not about race, apparently.
It's not about race.
So how did ancient humans domesticate peas 8,000 years ago, for example? So as you know, peas grow in pods on vines and bushes. So when the peas are ready, the peas shoot out of the pod onto the ground, replanting themselves, effectively procreating. The defective peas won't shoot out of the pods, and they won't get to reproduce their genes. Until humans come around foraging for food. And what do they find? The defective peas in the pods on the ground. They are still intact. So humans physically open the pods and eat them. And they expel the seeds out in a bed of feces. So we eat them and shit them out. This helps the seed...
Somewhere else as well. Somewhere else. As well, so you can...
These help the defective seeds reproduce, thus domesticating peas. So now we'll have peas that don't shoot out of their pods, right? So once those grow, right? But you might ask yourself, why are the seeds defective in the first place? And the answer is, nature always creates variation, just in case. So, you know, if all the peas were to release at the same time, there could be like a herd of animals that come through and eat them all, and that'll kill off the whole, you know, peas or whatnot. So yeah, nature always creates variation. But yeah, so that was super interesting to me because I had no idea about the domestication of peas and whatnot. And crops, because I would see, you might see wild strawberries or whatever, and I just never really thought about what it is. I just thought, what the fuck, what is that? Wild strawberries and whatnot.
Yeah. No,
so
ridiculous.
now you know how we accidentally domesticated things, and it wouldn't. To be fair, it wouldn't just be us though, would it? It'd be animals that are domesticating. But obviously, that's not really the definition.
Well, herbivores, it's not.
It's not definition.
But they
It's
are.
the same
They are
process.
doing it.
Yeah, they are
process.
literally
It's
doing
the same
it.
process. Alright, this guy is doing too much pandering to sensitive people. Author Jared Diamond ponders the appropriateness of answering Yali's question at all. So Yali was a character, a New Guinean character that he introduced in the beginning of the book that asked him, Massa, why do white people have so much cargo? We ain't got none. It's basically what he said. So Yali was this black guy from New Guinea. He said they called cargo is what they called medicine, clothes, government, anything that was brought from the Western world that is like modern. They're called cargo. So he was like, why do you whites have all this cool shit and we ain't got none of this? And that was referred to as Yali's question for the rest of the book. So author Jared ponders the appropriateness of answering Yali's question at all. Doesn't proposing a scientific reason for the peoples of a region dominating that of another region suggest that it was unavoidable and then therefore make it pointless to investigate? Secondly, Jared feels that suggesting white Europeans may simply be better is a somewhat Eurocentric position that glorifies the history of white Europeans at the expense of other peoples. Thirdly, he is concerned that even using vernacular like a rise of civilization implies that civilization is a good, and over the last 13,000 years of human activity, our progresses toward greater civilizations and our happiness respectively have been mutually inclusive. So he's like, he said what you said basically. It may not necessarily be that just because we have, faster broadband that we're happier or better off as a species.
Well, to be fair, if you think about it, right, the whole reason we go to work is to eat. So we could just cut out that and just go get our food and grow our own stuff. So, is it really much better? I don't know. I mean, I know which one I prefer, but as humans, we prefer what we're used to sometimes.
Yeah,
so
we're comfortable with what we're comfortable
I think,
with.
put it this way, do you think the human race would be better off if we all went back to hunter-gatherers, like, click of our fingers? Would we be better off, whatever that means?
Well, look, we picture it as us galloping off into the sunset, and it's like, everyone's going to be happy, everyone will be with their families, yada, yada, yada.
Because that's what you'll be doing.
I know
You're
some
spending
people
24/7
I know
with
some
families.
exactly. I know some people that go to work to get away from their families.
But that's only because
Do you know
they
what I mean?
don't know how to. When you're stuck with someone, you get on.
Yeah.
You figure out a
You
way
have
to
to
get
figure
on,
out, or you perish.
Especially when you need them, because when winter time comes around, everyone's gonna start being nice to the neighbours.
Oh, yeah,
winter time come around,
Yeah.
times are tough and whatnot.
Yeah,
so
times are definitely
better for the planet, less CO2. So I
You
don't
can't
know.
stop. You actually can't stop.
So yeah, no, it is actually quite an interesting question.
It's an interesting question.
So
We have to
is
find
it
an
okay?
answer.
All right, that's one question. But an original question is it progress? Because that we can answer surely. I don't think it can be described as progress.
I think it can be described as progress. I don't think it can be described as
Factually.
success. Yeah, factually it's
I don't
progress.
think-
Because
no.
we're learning more about the earth around us and about the forces of the universe. That's progress.
Well, that learning more, but we don't have to be in a civilization to learn more. We could be hunter gatherers and know this information. Surely.
Nah, whoa.
I thought we were talking about the lifestyle.
Yes, okay, so we're talking about the lifestyle. So, first of all, if we was hunter-gatherers, we couldn't be hunter-gatherers around here because there's nothing around here. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we could be
we would have to farm around here. So let's say we lived somewhere where we could actually be hunter-gatherers. Say we lived in Africa somewhere or whatever. I didn't pick Africa for any specific reason. But let's say we just lived in one of the places where you could actually be a hunter-gatherer, where you can look out your window and see buffalo down there and think dinner time.
Yeah.
Maybe you could be hunter-gatherers and be happier.
I think you definitely could be happier.
But it's just, it wouldn't work everywhere. So there's just no point. Where what we have works everywhere.
We would have to be vegetarians, and that won't work.
Definitely
That's not going to work for me anyway.
Yeah, we already went through this.
All right, let's move on. I think I missed off a point. This is a question I had, right? Well, I thought that I had. And tell me if you agree with this. I put, can you imagine early civilization, and I'm talking about settlers, so after hunter-gatherers, quite quickly you would imagine that they would organise one place or area where they would go toilet, so that they don't have to live in their own excrement. Do you think that they realise every time that plants and vegetation would grow exactly where their toilet was. And then they realised after some deduction that it has to be something they're eating, which would lead them to seeds. And it was like, lads, hold on a minute. So that's what I thought. That's how I thought humans kind of clocked on to what was going on, sort of thing. So yeah,
because we can always tell what is actually factually correct because we can recreate it in today's age, but we can never really know how humans reacted to finding out that discovery.
Think they said, lads.
Do you know? Well, no, of course not. But it's like I read this question on Reddit one time, but it was like, how did the first guy know that cows had made milk? You know, he was like, what was you doing down there? You know, and obviously, realistically, he probably saw the young cows drinking it. Realistically,
yeah.
But
no, but even the eggs, he's doing that. I think they were eating it raw beforehand. That's what they were doing. That's what they when times are tough.
You're hunter-gatherer. You need your energy.
Yeah,
you need strength.
Tough,
you need protein. Is literally.
How many you got? I've got 3 left.
I've got 2 left. So there was.
Shall I go then?
Oh yeah, go on.
So what was domesticated first, the goat or the dog? I'm gonna let you answer that. But fun fact.
Read that again. Sorry.
You ruined it now for me. So what was domesticated first, the goat or the dog?
Okay.
I'm going to leave you guys to figure that one out. Fun fact, did you know that ancient Egyptians tamed cheetahs to help them hunting? And it was a long day for the prey when they saw them man combining forces.
Oh, come on. They said it was already long.
Now there are 2 of them. But yeah, one emperor reportedly kept a stable of 1,000 cheetahs. 1,000, and his name was the Mughal Emperor of I don't know. I'm not going to bother. I'll put the words. I'll put it up for you. But yeah,
we don't want that guy to come
but
back.
A stable of 1,000 cheetahs.
That 1,000
like, that means they're just like cats.
They
are cats.
They are cats.
No, but I mean they're just like domesticated cats. Can you imagine?
Yeah, nah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no, that is crazy. 1,000 is a lot,
Yeah,
if you have 100,
I think you went over the top.
You're way over the top because like this guy had 100 cheetahs and he said, "Send me another 900 cheetahs because I don't have enough." Like it's genuinely insane. It's always these warlords that are doing these kinds of things. Like them people in cartel leaders that have like a tiger just locked up in a cage in their basement for no reason.
No, but have you seen there's this guy who he goes out with the big cats, like he's literally playing up in them, and these are wild animals, but he just grew up with them and they grew up with him. There's this guy on YouTube and he proper like no one else can go in there with him. But he goes into the reservation.
Oh, what? And they respect him?
Bro, they come up to him. He's play fighting with them and everything. Puts his hand in their head. In their mouth and all of that.
I think I've seen some... Is it lions? Is it lions?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw this thing where they said this guy raised lions from cubs to adulthood. And like he is literally like their lord and master. Like he would take his shoe off and they'll get scared because he's been beating them with his shoes since they were literally cubs.
This is the funniest thing, which is interesting. They said lions and tigers, they're both cats, but they're different beasts. So you can tame a lion and it'll be like a dog. It'll be like a dog. It'll never do anything wrong to you. It will never. But tigers, they said you can never really trust them. So they might respect you, but they might eat your child.
Yeah,
sort of thing. You turn your back on them as well, they will start trying to, sneak up on you. I saw a video about it, but yeah, they're 2 different beasts. Tigers,
nice.
You can't truly
because we call the
them.
lion the king of the jungle. You grow up and you don't really know what tigers are, especially if you're not seeing them like that to even know what they are. Like you might see one in the zoo if they go into the zoo. I don't know if even they have like tigers.
Do you know what?
In London
Someone
zoo.
asked me, who I'm talking about. They said, "Is a lion the male and the tiger's the female?" I was just like, love.
Do you know what? You would never make it hunter-gatherer times. You wouldn't make it.
Only a woman would say something like that. Because
honestly,
women can get through life being dumb because they just get along with their looks. A man could never be that dumb and still be alive.
Yeah, you would die. You wouldn't be like you can't. You're telling me you can't get dressed in the morning if that's what you think. Like
women don't need to. They just need to get half dressed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, genuinely, it's true. It's quite sad, but at the end of the day, they're
love it.
But yeah, the tiger's the strongest bite of any big cat. Tigers, they're massive.
No,
they might actually
the jaguar. I think it's
the
jaguar.
You might be correct, but I think it's definitely out of them.
Close, yeah.
I know wherever it is, it's not lying.
No, it's not.
And the thing is, remember that video you sent me where you was like, you heard the lions roar, then you heard the tigers roar, and I said, that's not
one made my bones rattle. One was like,
God.
I've heard that before.
One made some poo come out.
The reverb bounced off my noggin.
Ridiculous level.
Go on. Unless it's my turn.
Yeah, I didn't even forget to say it at the end of my last point. I said, so this guy, he's afraid that people will think he's racist using the guise of scientific discovery to make, to say brown people are inferior. So he's like, maybe I'm wrong about all this, just to kind of get people off his back. Say what you mean, Jared. Stand on business. If you think black people are inferior, say it and let them cancel you. I do. A real man. If people get mad, they get mad, but this promotes turning a blind eye to empirical evidence in order to spare the feelings of a YouTube comment section, which I just think is silly. Psychologists have been trying to prove that descendants of white Europeans are smarter on average than descendants of black Africans or Australian Aboriginals for ages. I haven't really gotten anywhere because they keep debunking their own theories, apparently, which is what he said. This is what the author said anyways. But Europeans are smarter thanks to television and the weather. On a visit to New Guinea, a local called Yali asks Jared a question. How come white people have so much cargo and blacks so little? Cargo here meaning all the stuff that makes a Western society what it is. Entertainment and medicine and clothes, etc. If scientists cannot find a genetic explanation for white Europeans being smarter, then how do we, I say we, have all the good shit? Jared theorizes that this phenomenon may be impacted by the television. As anybody who has read the incredible book The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt will know, free play and healthy cerebral stimulation is crucial to the good development of children. In the average US household, however, the television is on for an average of 7 hours per day, which I didn't even think that was that much. I thought it would be more, but 7 hours a day every single day is
a lot.
That's what I was shift at work. Genuinely.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot. 7 hours a day, the TV is on. And whether you think you're watching or not, stuff is going in if you're in the room with the TV as well.
Even if you're doing work.
Literally.
I have that problem all the time.
It's criminal. TV is a root of all evil. Descendants of white Europeans are far, far less likely than the black descendants of African countries to be outside developing as normal children do. Instead, we're stuck inside filling our heads with violent TV shows and violent console games. Jared thinks weather could play a similar factor. Sunny tropical climates, like you find in a lot of African and Asian countries, do not encourage one to sit in their house and invent all day. But if it's freezing grey and raining outside, then there is not much else to do.
You need a heater.
You need a heater.
So you start with the fire.
So necessity is the greatest motivation.
It's the mother of invention.
Exactly. So you literally...
So you start with a fire and you're like, well, I can't really have a fire in my house because it's not good for my... it's not safe for one. You end up, you just, it's what it is. It's necessity.
Exactly. And let's say you're Alexander Graham Bell and you live in an economy where you need to sell stuff and you need to talk to people. What do I need?
Exactly.
A way to talk to somebody who's not in this room.
Exactly.
If you're not a farmer, you don't have no economy. You don't need to talk to anybody. So there's no way for you to invent a telephone. There's no motivation. You don't want to. There's no motivation for you to invent a telephone. So there's nothing here. And it's exactly the same reason why Britain had to invade everybody, because they couldn't grow anything here. They didn't have anything nice here. They saw India's got tea, Jamaica's got sugar, everyone else has got stuff. Yeah, so what do we have? We've got ships though.
We'll go get it. That's
exactly. We got bullets though.
Yeah,
so
take it.
Necessity. We just grow up in different places and we need different stuff. And when you grow up in them plentiful areas, you want for nothing. Yeah, you want for nothing. Jah provide all my wants and needs. I got the sunshine, rivers and trees. But yeah, that I think is probably the best thing I've read in the book, because it kind of explains everything.
Yeah.
Unless it's been debunked, of course, like that guy on Reddit said.
Yeah. Okay, so why are some animals domesticated and others are not? For example, why are horses domesticated but their cousins, the zebras, are not? The answer is we can't reliably domesticate them. We can't really reliably domesticate them. There was a man by the name of Lord Walter Rothschild. In the 1800s, he had his carriage drawn by zebras, and you can find a photo of him in front of the Royal Albert Hall in London. So they can be trained. The problem is, as zebras get older, they get incredibly dangerous. They have a habit of biting and not letting go. Jesus. There are more incidents of zebra attacks attacking zookeepers than there are for tigers. Jesus. They are also devilishly smart. It is also virtually impossible to lasso them. Cowboys who are champions with the lasso were unable to catch them. They are capable of spotting the rope and ducking their heads, dodging the lasso. It's almost like they allow the ropes to bounce off their chest and laugh. So there's a reason why these animals haven't been domesticated, and it's because it's early humans haven't been able to.
Yeah.
So the horse has been domesticated for over 5,000 years. You know, there's certain animals that, you know, we domesticate, and some animals we don't. It's as simple as that. You know, we domesticated cows, but we ain't domesticated buffaloes. There's a reason for it. We might not know the reason. We might have forgotten the reason because it was tried thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago, whatever. But yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason. So some animals are better for domestication. So did we invent domestication, or did we discover it?
Did we invent dogs, or did we discover them? Do you know what I mean? Our dogs are just like...
Were they always supposed to be domesticated? Did someone make them in a way which allows them to be domesticated?
Are domesticatable animals supposed to be domesticated in the same way that chickens are supposed to be eaten because they're here for food, for us? So if animals can be here for food, surely they could be here to work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's logically tracks. I don't know. But... because a horse is capable of so much, it just seems like foolish to not use a horse, especially the times we're talking about. They said they used 1 million horses in World War One. For what? Pulling artillery around. Yeah. Pulling artillery around, you know. Horses can lift way more than humans, or they can pull way more than humans. So
yeah, way more.
Exactly. And also, we kind of just don't want to do it. So there's that as well. This is my last one. The biggest population shift of modern times has been the colonization of the New World by Europeans, the New World being North America, and the resulting conquest, numerical reduction, or complete disappearance of most groups of Native Americans, or American Indians. And the reason they're called American Indians is because Christopher Columbus sailed the wrong way around the world, landed in America and thought he'd found India, saw Native Americans, and he was like, Indians! And that's the whole reason we called it, or in the US they call them Indians now.
He's like, they're savages, same thing.
Literally savages, brown, cooking in pots, same thing. So there was a showdown, let's say, between the Incan Emperor. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. I'm just going to call him the Incan Emperor because they had some mad names out there.
Go on.
Nah, let's not do this. I don't want that guy to come back. Remember that guy? At least try to say the names properly. So there was a Spanish conquistador called Francisco Pizarro.
You said the white man's name, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, racist.
Right? So he said to the Incan Emperor, do not take it as an insult that you have been defeated and taken prisoner, for with the Christians who come with me, though so few in number, I have conquered greater kingdoms than yours, and have defeated other more powerful lords than you, and imposing upon them the dominion of the emperor, whose vassal I am, and who is king of Spain and of the universal world. Our Lord permitted that your pride should be brought so low that no Indian should ever be able to offend a Christian. I was literally just like, what was going through these people's heads, like the Europeans? Because when you go to like the tribes from the non-Western Eurasian countries, like this guy was talking about, like New Guinea, it never occurs to these guys to literally just be like, let's invade over there and literally just force them to their knees just because. Like, countries like Spain, why does Mexico speak Spanish? Why is Colombia speaking Spanish? Yeah. Why do they speak Spanish in Jamaica? What sense does that make? Why is so many countries speaking French?
We went over there and took it.
Took everything. We killed the men, took the women. That's essentially what we did everywhere.
Sounds good to me.
Well, it sounded good to all the European countries, but it's like, this does not occur to... And it has to be like, when the weather's shit and there's no food, this is what happens.
There is a part of it that people don't realise, and I wanted to make it clear about that's what I forgot off my point. But a lot of the deaths that were caused when you go and invade a country is you bringing over diseases. So when you domesticate animals, you then catch diseases from these animals, which is why we have bird flu, smallpox and stuff like that. So some of us die. We domesticate, some of us die, and then the rest of us build up a resistance to it. So then we go over to other countries, hunter-gatherer tribes and whatnot, that they're not around thousands of animals to be catching these. We go over there with our illnesses and it kills thousands of them.
Yeah, it's insane, and that's
which helps us defeat. Which is why it helps us defeat those.
Isn't that what we did? Like, well, I say we put the smallpox in the blankets.
They say that
in a cargo.
They say that they put smallpox in blankets,
and they just waited for them to die out because there was zero chance they'd built up an immunity to it because they've never been exposed to it. Which is diabolical when you think about it. You don't even really need to think about it to know it's diabolical, but it's, when you're from these...
It's better than slaughtering them though, isn't it?
Is it?
going out slaughtering it. I don't know how bad.
I don't know how bad.
Yeah, I don't know how bad
That's what I'm about to
mean,
say.
if it kills you, it can't be good.
So we know it's bad, but how unpleasant
It's
is it to
indiscriminate.
withstand? Yeah, and it is indiscriminate, but then so are bullets.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. All right, let me see the last point because we've got Why is it that writing has only emerged in recent human history? We, Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, have been on the planet for at least 190,000 years. Writing is about 5,000 years old. That's brand new, isn't it?
Mm.
Interestingly, the introduction of language coincides with the birth date of agriculture. Is that a coincidence? Scientists say that after the domestication of plants and animals, once you cultivate a society in which there's a surplus of food, you can start to trade, which is obviously offering food for money. Only at this point can scribes be paid, whereas before there's no need or time for scribing while we were hunter-gatherers. Remember, necessity is the mother of invention.
Man, so writes around 5,000 years. You still can't read.
There was no. As soon as you have a civilization, you quickly realize that there's a need for writing instructions down.
100%.
Counting, keeping track of things. On money, it's it just comes in. So what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Literally, that's how people sell stuff as well. They find see a need, fill a need. Literally.
Yeah, and then as I said, as soon as there is some form of government, people start being paid for jobs, and then
and it goes from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially,
so now you can pay someone to be a scribe. So now they got money to feed themselves, so that they can do other things with their time.
And money just replaces whatever was there before that we don't even know what it was.
Yeah,
and then
So yeah. Well, we didn't have a quote of the day, and we didn't have a question of the day. I think I got a question of the day for the next one. But the book was good. Maybe we should read something a bit more up to date because this book was quite old.
Yeah,
and people said some of the things.
He said he didn't say some. He said
I don't know why anybody reads his books.
Yeah,
it's been debunked. That's what
he said. It's been taken apart to the bone. That's what he said.
So basically we've wasted your time. And on that bombshell,
but we've not wasted more of your time than we have of our own time.
Yeah.
So
on that bombshell, I think it's time to end. Goodbye. You are the weakest link. But till next time.
Till next time.